Oh, it's a good place to be, Han.
Welcome everybody to the Progressive Mind Show. This is your number one community building platform. Here is where we engage you and I to deliberate on issues that matter to us so we can make our society a better one. My name is Sena, aka Alinko. This evening, we are going to be talking about the US elections and the African perspective. Oh man, it has been a very long week for everybody. Today is November 11th, 2020. And we just want to say a big salute to our veterans. Happy Veterans Day to all those who have laid their lives and those who are still serving. We would want to take a short break. When we come back, Captain Mike will give us a segment. After that, we will be talking to our guest this evening. Please share the feed if you just join us on Facebook and on YouTube. The show is live on My Star Radio out in DC, Washington, DC. My Star is a Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. We shall take a short break. When we come back, Captain Mike will be ready for us. Stay tuned. Well, we are back, and Captain Mike will take it from here if he's ready. My brother, it's been a very interesting week. Warm weather, and all of a sudden, we just dived into a cold one. Tell us about it.
Oh, absolutely. We had a record of 7-day stretch of 70+ degrees, and we set several records last week for high temperatures, 75 degrees, a couple days. But now we're pretty much going back to normal. So that's over. But we'll be a little warmer than normal, so it's not going to be a complete drop off. We're looking at for the rest of tonight down to about 35 degrees, light winds. So a nice night to put on the jacket. Tomorrow, a little bit windy, winds out of south, 52 degrees, going to be sunny. Friday, we have another cold front coming through, so that's going to cool it off for us. Saturday, looking at maybe some rain and maybe a little slush thrown in, maybe, but it's probably going to be all rain. Going to be over freezing, so not looking for any type of snow event or anything like that. Sunday, normal, but we're going to have some. Look out for some rain. Monday, maybe overnight, a little bit of snow, but nothing measurable or anything too bad. Tuesday and Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're looking at in the 40s, which will be a little bit below our normal of 51 degrees. So it's going back to normal. This is the average of what we can expect. So nothing crazy, no snow or anything like that. So at least we have that going for us. Looking at in sports, we have the FIFA qualifiers, and we have a lot of scores from yesterday where Malawi, Botswana 1-0.
Okay.
Eswatini and Djibouti fought to a 0-0 tie. Zimbabwe defeated Somalia 3-1. Mozambique defeated Mauritania Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
2-0. Angola defeats Gambia. I practiced that too. That's the sad part about it. Angola defeated Gambia 2-1. Rwanda really beat the Seychelles 7-0. Togo 2-0 over Comoros Islands. Guinea-Bissau 2. Let me see if I'll say that. Sao Tome Principe 1. So 2-1. Nambia 2 defeats Eritrea 2-0. Sudan and Chad fought to a 0-0 tie. So there we go with our scores from the FIFA qualifiers. Going into the health and fitness report. Tonight we're going to talk about eye health. Very important, especially with us in aviation. We have to go to the eye doctor, make sure we have 20/20 vision very regularly. So the first thing we talk about, you may not think you need to go to an eye doctor, but your vision might not be the best. So you may need contacts or glasses, and once you get them, the world can come into a clearer view. Eye diseases are common, and they can go unnoticed, and they don't have any symptoms. So early treatment is important. So make sure you go to an eye doctor. You can also get cataracts, which is clouding of the lens, diabetic retinopathy, damage to the eye blood vessels, glaucoma, which is damage to the optic nerves, or age-related macular degeneration as a breakdown of light-sensitive tissue. So make sure your children are checked. Start early, around a preschool age, or if you sense some type of problems, maybe even earlier than that. People with diabetes should go at least once a year. And if you're over 40, once every 2 years should be okay. And if you have any problems, decreased vision, redness, or draining of the eyes, pain, double vision, floaters, circles, or halos around lights, flashes, or any kind of injury, do make sure you go to the doctor and get an exam. How to keep your vision good? Well, one, make sure you get exams regularly, like we talked about. Diabetes, once a year. If you're pretty healthy, once every 2 years. Eat healthy. Eat lots of kale and greens. That helps your vision. Know your family history, eye history.
Okay.
Sunglasses.
Looks like we're having a little bit of technical glitch. Can you hear us now?
I got you. You see,
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Make sure you wear sunglasses, and they're 99 or better % of blocking UVA and UVB rays. And if you smoke, don't smoke. Stop smoking now. That's pretty much, it goes with all of the health and fitness reports. And last thing, the 20-20-20 rule. If you do anything that causes eye strain, such as looking at a computer all day, the part of your work, for every 20 minutes that you work on a computer or do something that causes eye strain, focus 20 feet away for 20 seconds. So 20-20-20. Every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away, focus on something 20 feet away for 20 seconds to give your eyes a break. So with that, get an eye exam, keep it regular. We're going to go back to you, Sena.
Thank you so much, brother. I think I really actually have heard that 20 seconds looking away from the computer thing. And it actually works, because I think there's something about your muscles get tight once you're looking for a long time. And so when you look away and you blink that 20 seconds, it actually really works. I've tried it. So thank you so much for always coming up with interesting information regarding weather, sports, and health. A quick update on the airline industry. I know you guys are opened. How is it currently? Any update?
Yeah. Today, or actually yesterday, because we do it. We haven't had the final numbers today, but yesterday were 596,475 passengers, and typically they're around 2 million. So we are keeping that slow upward tick. And right now that there has been announced that there may be a vaccine for COVID, I think people are going to really feel more comfortable traveling even more. So we're getting back to normal.
We shall see. Again, my brother, thank you so much. We will see you next week.
Same time, same channel.
Absolutely. That was Captain Mike. We shall take a short break. When we come back, the Progressive Minds continue. This evening, we're talking, as I said earlier, about the U.S. elections. What else is there to talk about apart from this? It has become the topic for everybody across the globe to see what is going on, what has happened, and all of that. So we will do our part on the Progressive Mind to see if we can help discuss some of the things that you have been thinking about. So please join us as we engage you. And the channel to watch this on is the Progressive Mind Show on Facebook. Of course, you can listen to us or watch us on YouTube as well. And now we would want to take this short break. Please share the feed as you're watching us on Facebook while we take this short break, and we be right back. Well, we are back, and in the studio is Hassan MATOVU, and Hassan MATOVU is an entrepreneur and real estate consultant. We also have today Honorable Dorothy Brown, or Honorable Clerk Dorothy Brown Cook. All right. Okay, so I had to get that right. We also have my brother Ted Williams. Ted Williams is a political science, and he's a head of political science at city colleges. We would be talking to this wonderful people in a short while, but I definitely have to give you a little background of the Honorable Dorothy Brown. She is one of the longest political servants in the state of Illinois, but we'll say, to be specific, in Cook County, the longest African American public service individual, and we are glad to have Honorable Dorothy Brown in our midst. She recently had her retirement party, which I was privileged to be at. And it was an awesome evening with great people and with great accolades. But again, let's try and go into her biography in a little bit, if you may permit me. And I do have the information here. Just trying to open it up here. Okay. All right. So my system, it's not coming up. Okay, so Honorable Dorothy Brown is the longest serving clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. She is the first African-American clerk, as I said, of the Circuit Court of Cook County. And she's also the longest serving African-American elected executive official, basically. Yes, I think I had that right. She is head in charge of one of the largest unified court system in the country. I think the second to that of California, and I arguably one of the largest unified court system in the world. This woman is a great personality in the city of Chicago, in the county of Cook, and in the state of Illinois. Actually, a very honorable exemplary leader in our country, and we are to honor her. It's sad that we will not be, after a while, she will not be in that position. But we know that she will still be leading our community one way or the other. And we are very honored that Honorable Clerk Brown, you are once again have honored our invitation to come to the show to literally help us understand what's going on with regards to this year's election. And so welcome again, Honorable Clerk Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Hassan, my brother, as I said earlier, welcome to the show once again. You've been here before, so I just want to welcome you. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation, Hassan.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Ted, my brother, Ted Williams.
And thank you for...
Yeah, go ahead.
And thank you for the job that you do to bring us together.
No, thank you so much. My pleasure. And Ted Williams, the third, is a friend, and he also has his own podcast on Facebook. He's been doing a lot of teaching in our community. Obviously, the head of political science, city colleges. Sir, my brother, you are welcome to the show again. This is not the first time, of course, we've had you before. But we just want to thank you for accepting the invitation to come on this time. You're welcome again.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. I know that we've had some few technical glitches, but you are good now. We can hear you clearly, my brother. Everything is fine. So let's get to it. Now, let's first try to see if we can get some historical context going on here. Um, it has been before the elections. There was this article that was being tweeted around that, um, probably before now, the traditional Democrats and Republican Party as we have, black people used to be more in the Republican Party than the Democrats, and things changed over time. Uh, Ted, I don't know. You have been very vexed in these issues. Can you help us understand how if this? Can you help us authenticate this?
Sure. So you guys can hear me correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you good.
Okay, so the history of the parties really goes back to the mid 1800s. The Democratic Party was founded in 1828. The Republican Party was founded in 1854. The Republican Party was founded as the anti-slavery party. The Democratic Party was founded as a states' rights party. What happened historically is that presidents ultimately changed the way that parties run, as we've seen with this current president. He has really reshaped the Republican Party. But there are a few events in the early 1900s that really shifted African Americans who were a part of the anti-slavery Republican Party, really shifted them over. And those events started off with the Great Depression, in which FDR, who was elected 4 different times, really used the tools of the government to help poor people, which we were in this place, and use the federal government to be a mitigating force around the issues of poverty for us, and so it's began to move us over. Then you had the civil rights movement that occurred, even though Eisenhower was a Republican and pushed forth the integration of schools in Arkansas, particularly with Little Rock 9. The Democratic Party really was in the right place at the right time, Kennedy and Johnson, and really pushed forward the Civil Rights Act, the Housing Rights Act, and all the civil rights legislation of the 60s under the Democratic Party. Nixon came into office in the 1970s, really under the Southern strategy, and said, well, hey, the Republicans, we're going to be the party of those who don't want to see black people advance, and began to shift in that way. Reagan came in the 1980s and pushed that even further, deregulating all kinds of industries, and the last vestiges of black people in the Republican Party substantially really started to die out in the 1980s. And then, of course, the Democratic Party gave African Americans the first black president, and so really our connection with them has been stamped fully by those 5 historic events. And I would argue now that number 6 is the election of Donald Trump, who really has made the Republican Party a place that is really antithetical, in my mind, to the spirit and the goals of equality of the black community.
Wonderful breakdown. Thank you so much. And I don't know if Honorable Clerk Brown would want to add anything to that. I also read somewhere that the United States was not necessarily a democratic system until the slaves arrived here, and that actually changed the changed the political atmosphere or the political system. Now, how can you all help us understand the some of these stories that have been circulating on I would say circulating around? Is there any maybe further explanation to these stories with regards to how black people change the political spectrum of the Americans change the American political spectrum?
I think Professor Williams just adequately explained it, going back historically, and we know that Lincoln was a Republican, of course, and he was the one that they say freed the slaves, and so that, of course, was the beginning of the entire process of blacks being a member. But as Professor Williams has stated, it really goes with the policies of the particular presidents and what they adopt at the time, and for now, and who knows what it's going to be 100 years from now. But for now, the Democratic Party has actually put forth policies that are more in line with African Americans, and of course has also adopted us in a sense, for the most part, and for sure Kennedy and Johnson with Johnson really with the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act really, I think, just put the icing on the cake, and along with with Martin Luther King during that Martin Luther King movement, really put the cap on the solidified us, if you will, into the Democratic Party. I know a lot of people always are talking about, the Democratic Party doesn't do enough for Black people, and we should not hold our alliances to them. But I look at it this way.
Right.
We have made the difference for this party. We know that we can make a difference. For whites, they're split almost evenly with the Republicans and Democrats, right? They're split. We look at the votes that just went forth. But we may not be a majority in this country, but we are powerful in this country because we can elect a president if we just simply stick with one party or the other. So so for now, the Democratic Party is the one that has adopted us, if you will, and adapted to our issues.
Right.
But we have to do more in making sure that they are actually working with us and that they're actually addressing our issues in a more productive manner. I actually started crying the other night when Joe Biden did his speech on Saturday, and he went down the list of the various races and ethnic groups that helped him. And at first he had missed the African Americans, and I said, well, wait a minute. I was listening very intensely for African Americans, but he put us all the way separate. And he said that we have had his back and he has our back. And I'm going to tell you, tears started falling down my eyes down my face, because so many times we do that. We go forward and we help people. And then in that election night speech, they forget us. And, that's just the beginning of the slippery slope to let us know that we will not be remembered. So I think that we're in the right place. We're better when we connect and combine with someone. If we had a party by ourselves, what could we do?
Right.
Not a whole lot right now. Maybe one of these days. Our numbers are just simply not there enough for us to make a difference by ourselves from a numbers standpoint. So we just have to make sure that we use our power, the power that we have today.
Thank you so much for helping us break that down for us. But Ted, what can you help us understand some of the roles or the significant roles that women, in particular, Black women or African American women, have played in this process up until now?
Well, I'm gonna do my best, but I'm sitting next to virtually someone who is well versed and probably much more capable of answering that question than me. So I'm gonna humbly give a little historic context, but I would love to hear my sister on this question, because she embodies it, right?
Yeah.
But I will say that when you look at the significance of people who we don't talk very much about, the Shirley Chisholms of the world who ran for president, the Carol Moseley Brauns of the world, who literally was groundbreaking, and I'm sure our dear clerk probably knows Senator Moseley Braun very well. It was really groundbreaking nationally. Do you realize that at one point in the United States Senate, there was a period of about 20 years where the only Black senators in the entire country all came from the South Side of Chicago? Carol Moseley Braun, Barack Obama, and Roland Burris. And so we have a unique history, really led by her, right? She was the first of that group of folks. And so I will tell you that if we want to fast forward and talk about Kamala Harris's ascension to the vice presidency, it is very much part of our tradition. African American women have been the backbone, really, of the Democratic Party in the modern era. They gave South Carolina to Joe Biden. Without African American women, there would have been no Joe Biden getting through the primary, and really gave him places like Philadelphia, gave him places like Atlanta, gave him places like Milwaukee. And so I love what the clerk said, that we have to combine our resources and interests. In politics, there are no permanent friends nor permanent enemies, only permanent interests. And so I love the idea of being strategic. People can complain about the Democratic Party all day long, But until we are a group that comes together and leverages our unique situation politically and also economically, we will have no power. And politics is all about power. So we can sit on the sidelines and complain all day, or we can get engaged. And I think folks like Carol Mosey Braun, folks like Clerk Dorothy Brown, folks like Shirley Chisholm, folks like Kamala Harris are really leading in that way, and very proud to be a part of this tradition and this conversation.
Thank you. I wanted to hear that. Thank you so much. And I'm sure a lot of our audience wanted to hear that historical context as well. But Honorable, he handed the baton to you, and so I have no choice. I have to.
Thank you, Professor Williams. Oh my goodness, this is a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. You know, with Shirley Chisholm, you know, she always talked about being unbought and unbossed, right? And that little woman, that little African American woman, what she did in her day and running for president, being so bold, was just phenomenal. That's why Kamala Harris is able to be where she is today. What I think about so often, and as I saw Kamala Harris speaking on Saturday, you know, it brought tears to my eyes because I thought about the fact that Black women, going all the way back to slavery days, we were the lowest of the lowest. You know, we were the concubines in the white man's bed. You know, we were the lowest of the lowest. We were raped. I say we were less than property. You know, white women were properties of their husbands. We were less than property. But for us to come from there and to be the first woman to be in one of the two top offices in this country through Kamala Harris just speaks to our strength of character, because in spite of all of the things that we went through, for us to be able to fight through that, taking care of our families, taking care of our men and our children, respecting our men along the way, because, you know, Black women, we respect our men, respecting our men along the way, recognizing, you know, the struggles that they have just as Black men, but protecting our Black sons in every way that we can, crying for them. For us to come from there, for Shirley Chisholm, and I always say every round goes higher and higher, and you have to make sure that you are covering and achieving in your generation. Shirley Chisholm set us on a path, and Barbara Jordan, even back in those days, set us on a path of strength of character. And then to come, and as Professor Williams said, for Carol Moseley Braun to be the first Black woman, and the first, not the first Black, but really the only Black in the number of years, he said 20 years, in the United States Senate. For her to do that, even though she was not re-elected, because, you know, when we start achieving, people start planning against us when we first get in office. And so, but then Barack Obama, and then, you know, people don't realize, but when I ran for city treasurer of the city of Chicago, this citywide office in the city of Chicago, we ran as an independent, as a Black woman. It was really the first time in really history that a Black woman had run for office, even a Black person, independently. We had been tapped during those times to run, but we were never. It was never where we independently waged a campaign for a citywide office. When I ran for that office, I went to visit people, and they would tell me, "Do you realize that's the entire city of Chicago?" And I said, "Yes, I do." You know, Martin Luther King said we should dream, and we should be able to be whatever we wanted to be, and be judged by the content of our character, not by the color of our skin. But then when I ran for that countywide office as an independent, people really thought that I was crazy. But to run and win, and to in a county that was predominantly white, still predominantly white, Professor, still a predominantly white county. It was historical, and there's no way they can write political history in the city of Chicago and the county of Cook without including a Dorothy Brown, and to be actually be able to serve for 20 long years without being defeated in that office, and to win with huge numbers, and to be able to combat all of the tackles. And I have that book that I'm getting ready to write. All of the challenges that came at me, it is just phenomenal. But my journey is like Carol Moseley Brown's journey, and like Kamala Harris's journey and Shirley Chisholm's journey. We do what we do for the next generation. We do what we do, and fighting this fight. And so it's. But let me say this about Black women also. I told the Democratic Party before Barack Obama ran, back when Al Gore was running, I told them then that you have to do something to strengthen up your numbers and show support for what Black women are doing. We have been voting in strong numbers for the Democratic Party and carrying it across a lot of finish lines for a long time. And finally, they started recognizing us. You see how they're recognizing Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Stacey Abrams is the reason why Georgia is turning blue.
Exactly. Right.
And so Black women, all of this that has happened to us really strengthened us, and we would not have it any other way.
Oh wow, that's powerful. No wonder the professor wanted you to handle this one. Very, very important. This is the Progressive Mind Show. If you just joined us on Facebook, please help share the feed so your friends and our friends can benefit off of the information and the discussion that we're having here, actually, so they can also participate in it. We're also live on YouTube. It's the Progressive Mind Show on there. Currently, we're also being carried by MyStar Radio, which is based in Washington, D.C. MyStar Radio is a Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. Those who have joined us on Facebook, please give me a second. I will be recognizing it very soon. And I would encourage our audience to ask questions or send their comments. If you want to call in, it's 815-277-5047. My brother Hassan, we've heard from Professor Ted and Honorable Clerk Brown, your view on how, even within the African community, I know that the euphoria and the energy from our community has been different this year. In my 12 years, 13 years somewhat of being in this country, the energy has been different. Can you give us a little breakdown of how the African community, especially the women, encourage their children and their family members and husbands to go out there and vote? Can you give us a little perspective on that?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here.
You're welcome.
I'm absolutely overwhelmed by being on the same stage with these two participants over here. Professor Ted Williams, thank you for the introduction. And the Honorable, that's just wonderful what you put in there regarding how women have influenced. I just wanted to say that before I even talk about what you asked me to talk about.
Okay.
The influence of Stacey Abrams is just one of the most powerful things that ever happened to the politics of the United States of America.
Exactly.
To be able to flip Georgia, it's just too big. Okay, but Africans, just like you said, I've never seen the amount of energy that we've had this time around. And we have had it in our chat rooms, we've had it when we meet in our living rooms, but also in terms of participation. Africans, lately, they're going into, that diversifying. In the past, Africans just kind of did the same thing. There was the 70s and 80s when the people who came here from Africa were mostly, people who had been harassed by their governments back home, but they were mostly extremely highly educated. So they came in here, took on professorships and stuff like that, and they didn't really engage in the politics. And then you had another wave of a different type of Africans. But this time around, there was a type of engagement that I've not seen. there's also a reach out from the African communities within Chicagoland, for example, to get engaged in the local politics. Okay? So Africans were out canvassing for votes, they were knocking on doors, but above all, we're meeting together to encourage ourselves to go vote. For the most part, Africans are still operating within their country confines. In other words, you find Ghanaians talking to Ghanaians, Ugandans talking to Ugandans. But people like you are, creating that working togetherness, unity type of thing. And that's the new frontier that we're going to have. This year, obviously, because we're having COVID, one of Africa's biggest tools was not as evident as always. Africa is a place of congregation. Regardless of what technology can do for us, for someone who's an African, they always have to reach out to others. They're always going to show up in big, congregations. We're the ones who do weddings of 500 people plus. And you wonder how we get the money to do that. So that wasn't as much.
And those are even traditional weddings. Those are even the traditional, the small ones.
Oh, yeah. That's a small wedding.
Yes,
that tool was, yes. You're right there. Yeah. That tool was not a display, but we have gotten to be very adept with technology. Right. As you understand, most of the old types of development were not developed in Africa. So when new technology comes, you'd be surprised that Africa actually runs ahead of, for example, the US in terms of utilization of technology. So with these apps like WhatsApp, for example, like Zoom right now, like this app that we're using right now, Africans are using these apps very, very quickly to mobilize. We're mobilizing here, just like you're doing with us here. They're mobilizing back at home.
Right. That's very interesting.
That's what I've seen here. But of course, to be African starts with Africa. And in Africa, people were on the edge watching what America does. America occupies a very special place in Africa.
Right.
Even though slavery was done, America was a beneficiary of slavery, and that's horrible to say, difficult to say. But after slavery, that was replaced by colonialism.
Right.
Even though America did not directly participate in colonialism, much of the outcome of what happened in African colonialism was going to end up in America anyway. In other words, the resources that came out of Africa, whether they had to go through Europe first, it had to end up in America. So America always has a very major influence in Africa. And then after colonialism, America actually did direct engagement with Africa. It has major embassies in Africa. They are very active. The USAID, for example, the IMF, the Exim Bank, all those are institutions through which the United States relates with Africa. So when America is changing how they think, Africa is on the alert.
Exactly, and we are very much involved. I would like to expand on that. But when Professor Ted and Honorable Clerk was talking, earlier, they mentioned this lady, Chisholm. What's the name again? Can you help?
Shirley Chisholm.
Okay, yes. Okay. See, as an African, I've never heard of her. And this is some of the gap that we have as Black people in the diaspora. And that is why we need to engage. We don't know the history of African Americans. And African Americans try hard to know African history. And so it is very essential that during these times, we take the opportunity to engage, to try to learn. So this is the first time I'm hearing her. And I'm sure a lot of the folks in our community have not heard of her. So please take maybe 2 minutes to tell us who this person was and how significant and why. I mean, of course, what she did and why she's so very important in the history of women that changed the political spectrum of this country.
Yeah, sure. I could talk about it for a second, but I also want to expand it just a little bit to talk about what you mentioned about the gaps there. But Shirley Chisholm ran for president and was the first African-American female to make a serious run for the office. She was a congresswoman from the city of New York and ran for president in the 1970s. And so Shirley Chisholm, she has a great documentary called Unbossed and Unbroken, and really paved the way, received death threats, received all kinds of persecution, if you will, from her own party, from her own folks in the African American community across the nation, and really displayed the kind of fierce tenacity and fearlessness that is required to make significant change. It's funny because the person in spirit that reminds me the most of her in current politics is probably either Stacey Abrams or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Just fearless and unafraid of what the ramifications are of what they say in their leadership, but really committed to marginalized communities, which I think is our real legacy, right? So as I teach politics and have run for office myself, I always ask the question, what is the point of being involved in the political process if you can't help somebody else? What is the point of having a position if it is not to benefit those who cannot necessarily help themselves? You may as well stay and make your money or do whatever you want to do, but don't get into politics, because politics is the people's business. And we need fighters like her to do that. Now, I want to say this real quickly about the connection between the Africans and African Americans around the issues of politics. I think you are right. There is a real gap in the diaspora in terms of our social movements being united. I want to speak about one person, and I don't know, if you guys are connected at all, but I'm friends with Amara Enya, and I'm very proud of the work that she's doing and she's done in the city of Chicago, really trying to make that connection politically. And folks like her, there are many others that are doing that. But I attended a meeting a couple weeks ago around what is going on in Nigeria with SARS. I'm teaching right now about the civil war in Ethiopia, and our folks don't know about those things at all, and your folks don't know about Shirley Chisholm at all. And so we got to come together, because if we do not, we limit our power. And see, we really are the same people, only separated by a couple hundred years and a few thousand miles in an ocean. But in reality, the diaspora coming together has a phenomenal amount of power and strength. In the African American community alone, there's a $1 trillion economy. African Americans are the most politically powerful minority group in America, as the clerk just reminded us. And so that power should be connected. There should be no disconnection between the African community in America and African Americans or American descendants of the enslaved. We are one in many ways and have many similar interests and must work together to uplift both of our communities.
That's powerful. Honorable, quickly, if you can help us understand Stacey Abrams' role, because we know that there was a report about how 300,000 voter registered names were taken out of the registration system in Georgia, and how she worked tirelessly to try to restore it. Now, we know she's played a significant role, just like my brother Hassan said, in turning Georgia in the favor of the Democrats this time around. But can we understand what went down and how she fought for a change to what we're seeing now?
Well, let me add something though to what the professor said about Chisholm, because Chisholm, of course, was the first African American woman ever elected to the United States Congress. I wanted to make sure we were aware of that. But the other thing, Doctor, and let me just say, I'm just looking at Wikipedia, nothing more. Just full disclosure, right? She was the first Black person ever to run for president of the United States. Not the first Black woman, but the first Black person ever. See, that was significant. That's a significant difference. People always say to me, I'm the first Black woman clerk of the court. No, I'm the first Black person ever to be the clerk of the court in the history of Cook County. But she was the first Black African American candidate for a major party nomination for president of the United States. Well, let me say, and so she, let's say for a major party nomination, might have been some for some minor parties, and she was the first woman. See, the first African American to ever run for a major party, and then the first woman to ever run for a Democratic Party presidential nomination. Now, that's Black or white or whatever. White women were kind of still being a little, little shy back in those days. So I think that those are significant things about the Honorable Shirley Chisholm. Now, as it relates to Stacey Abrams and what she did, and she created this organization called Fair Fight, and I want everybody to go to fairfight.com and donate. and I've been donating over the last couple of days because she created that because we have those 2 extra Senate seats that needs to be flipped blue in Georgia.
Right.
And if you need to go to my Facebook page, Dorothy Brown, I have a link out there so you can donate. But when she ran for governor, and a couple of years ago, she felt that there was a voter suppression. And of course, we know that they find all kinds of ways to keep blacks from voting. And with Georgia and states, though, I have never really understood why some of those southern states are so Republican with so many African Americans, but it's also psychological. But Georgia, I think, is going to be the turning point for the entire South, where people will have a lot of strength to be able to vote. So, but once she lost that race, she did not run for something else right away. They tried to get her to run for United States Senate. Sometimes you can run for something else too quickly. She decided to be focused, and she started this organization called Fair Fight Action. And she worked on addressing voter suppression in the state of Georgia. She worked with blacks and progressive whites, and making sure that people got out the vote. And her work has paid off in flipping that state. Now, Stacey Abrams can probably go and do whatever she wants to do. She was the minority leader in the House of Representatives down there in Georgia, and she took that and she just catapulted that into running for governor. And then, of course, she's focused on that organization and helping to make sure that people who have a right to vote, and that their right to vote are actually recognized. So she's just a phenomenal woman that we should. And she's not that. She's really a young woman. I mean, she's when she first ran, she was only in 2002 at 29. She was appointed a city attorney, and that was just 18 years ago. So she's what, about 47, I guess. So she's still a young woman and has a lot that she can do. And I'm just really, really proud of her.
Right. Thank you so much. We would like to go take a short break. After that, we would like to go into what actually went down during this year's America's election. I hear currently that they are recounting the state of Georgia's votes, right? If that's accurate. And so we want to know how everything played out. Joe Biden obviously is the president-elect, but we understand that the Republican Party, a majority of them are not accepting it, and so there's a push for certain states for the votes to be recounted in certain states. When we come back, our panel will help us understand some of the details, and we shall hopefully you can ask your questions and bring in your comments. We shall read those that have sent their comments in a little bit. Please remember that as you're watching on Facebook, you can share the feed so that somebody else within your network can benefit of the information. If you're on YouTube, you can share that as well. Please stay tuned. This is the Progressive Mind Show. I am your host, Alinko. We shall be right back.
Check out this beautifully made artistry of coffee tables made from a combination of recycled tires, jute ropes, wood, and fabric to suit your style. Yes, we make to order. These coffee tables can help you make a statement in your bedrooms, offices, and living rooms. But remember, we only ship within the USA and Canada after shipping cost is paid. Call Jasper Designs on 1-306-203-2650 or email us at doduyayra@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at Jasper Love or follow Pearl Yara Agboka on Facebook. Don't be left out. Please place your orders now.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Alinko, and here are a few comments that have come through so far. Ashia says, way to go, Captain Mike. We have Eben says, always a pleasure to listen to insightful discussions. Great to see you again, Mommy Dorothy. And Rebecca says, thank you so much. Also, Mame, Sarah Denchi is watching. Thank you so much, Sarah Denchi, for joining us. Oben says, Mommy Dorothy, thank you for your great services. I was privileged to shake your hand at the Tawi's residence when the president of Ghana visited Chicago. Thank you so much. That was last year, right? Okay. Thank you so much for great services, and God continue to inspire you. There is no doubt that you have produced 1,000 Dorothy Browns around Illinois. Love you, Mom. Thank you so much. Thank you for your comment, my brother Oben. Rebecca says, Honorable Dorothy Brown, great job. Kenya also passed her comment, and then Dr. Portia Godin says, hello, Alinko and Progressive Minds. Fantastic panel today. Congratulations on your retirement, Honorable Clerk Dorothy Brown Cook. I will be watching and following you even after you step up from the clerk's office. Thank you for 20 years of service. I am calling on all the African community right now to send your congratulatory messages to Honorable. She served our community very, very well. Our society and our community fantastically well. She has been an exemplary leader. Everybody speaks good of her. And so, if you're listening and you are in the African community, please go ahead and send your well wishes and your congratulatory remarks to her. Ashia says, beautiful said, Honorable Brown, thank you for paving the way for women of color in Chicago and in America. Proud of you. Thank you so much, Ashia. Iran C. Mukayo Bata. Ladies that think of the next generation inspire me a lot. Thank you so much, Clerk B. Brown and Kamala Harris. Thank you so much for bringing your information, your comment through. Ella says, very informative. Thank you so much, Stella, for tuning in. Aaron says, that's true, Professor Ted. We need each other equally. Thank you so much. And then DJ Kenny says that good information you are providing, history too. Yes, of course. And Joy says, I think with this platform, Africans can begin to come together. Absolutely, Joyce. I believe in that. And so let's work together. Let's make it happen. Selassie Elliott says, congratulations, Honorable Clerk Brown. Thank you so much, Selassie, for bringing your comment. And then Rebecca says, congratulations to you, Honorable Dorothy Brown. Can you please share in the feed as we continue this great discussion. Now, just for your information, I don't know if Ted, you are aware of this, or Clerk Brown, you're aware of this. Some of the African Americans who may be watching. Now, Ghana and America seem to have had a very interesting political pattern since 1992. Okay, so Ted, it is very interesting. The NPP party. There are two major parties in Ghana: NPP and the NDC. NPP is National Patriotic Party, and then NDC is National Democratic Party. For some reason, the National Democratic Party of Ghana seem to conduct their political process and governance similar to that of the Democratic Party here. And so is the NPP back in Ghana. Now, in 1992, when Bill Clinton was president, that was when ex-president Jerry John Rawlings was also president. And he was the president of the Democratic Party. Actually, Jerry John Rawlings was the one who brought Ghana from the military rule era into the Fourth Republic. So he was then the president. He had 4 terms during that era. So it was 1992 to 1998, right? And that was the time when, so he had 2 terms. Bill Clinton had 2 terms. And then in 2000, when he left power, so the National Democratic Party, National Democratic Congress of Ghana left power, and came the NPP party, which is similar to the Republican Party here. And that was when Bush, came into power. So there has been a part in there. And then in 2008, when the NPP party left power, you had a National Democratic Congress person, and then we had President Obama, as a Democratic leader. And then this year it looks like the same thing. This year we have a Republican Party running the United States of America, and in Ghana we have the NPP, who also has its symbol as an elephant, just like the Republican Party. So it's very, very interesting. Now, guess what is more interesting? The opposition party, which is the NDC, just like the Democrat Party here, and Ghana is going to the ballots in December. And it looks like every time the United States votes, exactly a month after, Ghana votes as well. Now, Ghana is going to be going to the ballot on the 7th of December. The opposition party elected a woman as her running mate. A month later, Joe Biden elects a woman as her running mate. And and so it is very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Nobody knows where this is, if it's just a mere coincidence or there is some historical connection here. But who knows? We should see in the years to come. That was just by the way. Just wanted to bring that out there. And so it ties into that diaspora connection, that we are very connected in so many ways, especially blacks in America and blacks in, I'll say, Africa, or blacks from Ghana. So I'm just being biased. Blacks from Ghana and African Americans, we are very connected, but it's just a general connection. Black people, we are all connected. Okay, I wanted to just get that out there. But let's get into what is going on. Ted, I told some of my friends that the Democrat Party, Biden, I just put it on the platform. I said Biden will win it. One of the reasons why, and I'm sure I'll take a lot of hits from my Republican friends. One of the reasons why I was saying that was that from 2016 to 2017, when you remember when the mass shootings was going on and all of that, and the NRA was involved, the whole protest, all these kids were taken up to the streets and they were protesting. These kids were around 16 years, 17 and whatnot. Now, this year, these kids are eligible to vote. So I'm thinking, all these folks that were, all these kids that were, basically on the street protesting against gun control are not eligible to vote and can exercise that. You also have the Bernie Sanders folks who were maybe peeved or angry with Hillary Clinton then. They are moved towards Biden. And you also have Barack Obama, stumping heavily for Biden. So I think that there was a lot of things that worked very well for Biden and the Democratic Party. But you are the experts. Help us understand what made the difference and why this year's election for the United States a memorable one and a very unique one. And I'll start from you, Ted.
So the most exciting part about this election, in addition to the fact that we have gotten rid of a president that most people that look like me were not excited about having, is the record voter turnout. We normally get about 55% of people to come out for presidential elections. We normally get about 33% of voters to come out for midterm elections. But in this race, we're looking at over 60%, even in some places where they're still tallying, but looking like we're getting close to high 60s. Which would push us even closer to 70, but high 60s, which is phenomenal. And President Trump won got more votes than any other Republican president in history. Joe Biden got more votes than any other person in history. President Trump lost by the largest margin of any incumbent since the 1930s. And so these are real sort of historic numbers that are happening. And I think there are two things that were going on. Number one, we are in a moment of transition. We are at a crossroads in this country. We recognize the mantra of making America great again is a mantra that says that we want to take America back to another time. And there are millions of people, over 70 million, closer to 75, 76 right now, who said we don't want to go backwards, we want to go forward. And that really was what this election was about. But don't ever get it twisted, as they would say. The COVID-19 crisis actually helped our voter turnout because of the use of mail-in ballots and all of the early voting legislation that was allowed for all across the country. There were places that did not have the level of early voting that they had, and now they had it. And so these things really helped us to get to record turnout. So what I am looking at as someone who teaches political science is how can we make voting more accessible in future elections so we can get the same turnout. We should not have to jump through hoops to register to vote and stand in long lines, and it shows us that this is something that we can do. Now, where we are right now, I believe, is really, I would say, is a democratic crisis, where we have a sitting president that refuses to concede. And so in this, he has 70 million people that voted for him. And there is a large percentage of those 70 million people that genuinely believe that this president was robbed of his position. And though Trump will go away, Trumpism is going nowhere, and these folks are riled up. And I think of all of the egregious violations of the democratic principles of equality that Donald Trump has displayed during his term, this might be the worst. Because what he is doing is literally burning down the democracy as he leaves, and willing to create suspicion around our valued institutions. And let me say this, and I'll say this kind of to close out here, and I know there's a lot of conversation about voting fraud. This voting fraud really is a myth. I'll give you an example. In Pennsylvania, for instance, there's a law that says that you cannot accept ballots after the election day, okay? If those ballots come in after election day, they have to be segregated and put away and counted differently. There are about 8,500 ballots that came in after election day, after November 3rd. Joe Biden is winning by close to 60,000 votes now in the state of Pennsylvania. 8,500 votes that have not even been counted, 60,000 votes. There is no conversation in Pennsylvania. It is a ridiculous argument that is happening. And one of their major points of contention, where there was a person who was in the polls who said that they overheard someone telling them that they were supposed to put Democrat on these ballots. This person came out and they were sort of on, they had the Fox News was using them and other news outlets were using them. This person just recanted yesterday and said they were lying about the whole thing. Their number one witness, if you will, around this voter fraud. If you think about this, and I'll stop by saying this, if there was true voter fraud, it would have had to happen across multiple states, hundreds of thousands of votes to change the leads that he has in Georgia right now and Arizona right now, the huge lead in Michigan. I mean, the Michigan was certified, the huge lead in Wisconsin, all these places. That would have to literally be enough votes to overturn that. And this voter fraud would have had to happen only in the presidential race, because the House of Representatives gained Republican seats, and the Senate is, we've got 2 seats to go to tie this thing up. So the idea that there's massive voter fraud that never touched the House of Representatives, never touched the Senate, and is going to overturn hundreds of thousands of votes in 6 or 7 states is ludicrous, foolishness, illogical, and folks who are peddling it are truly destroying our democracy, and they need to stop.
I know Honorable want to comment on that, but we haven't heard from Hassan for a while. Hassan, would you want to comment on what we've discussed so far? I know you want to say something. Please go ahead and say it, and I want Honorable to comment on this.
Thank you, Ted, for taking a very good amount of time to help us understand that there is no voter fraud. For me, I want to take it a little farther and say that and I'm going to leave this as a question for the Honorable Clerk. I'm going to ask myself, why is it that we are so concerned about something that is evidently non-existent? Why is it that we're willing to listen to these people as they openly lie to us? And I know they never want us to use the word lie, but I'm not afraid of using it. These are clear lies. These people come on television and other public mass media, and they talk about voter fraud without evidence. How do you even start about alleging a crime and not be able to present any shred of evidence? So I want us to stop talking about them talking about voter fraud and start asking, why is it that people of color in Georgia had to stand for 8, 9, 10, and 12 hours to vote in a country, the United States of America? Not only are we the wealthiest, but we're also some of the smartest. We're the home of Walmart. We're the home of Chase, the bank. We're the home of Starbucks. We're the home of iPhone.
And we're the home of Facebook and Google.
Thank you, Google. Okay,
and Facebook.
These people, they do analytics all the time. We have the experience in the country. We have the professionals. We know how to tell that there's going to be a surge of demand for that, and we arrange for that. Are we trying to tell ourselves that we can't do this on the public level? That is so dispiriting.
All right, so you want an honorable to respond to that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You want to know why are we listening to these people?
Yes.
Why are some people listening to the people? Let me say this: why you probably want to know why is Trump's 71 million voters listening to these people, and how in that world did he get 71 million people to vote for him? When the election was during the election time, I actually thought that Biden would win by a landslide every state in this country, because I just could not fathom that people could be so gullible or so in tune to believing, and I hate to say racist, that they would actually be willing to turn a blind eye to all of the things that Trump had done to our country, alienating our allies, using the White House as a political campaign office, having his election night at the White House. When he pushed back the protesters in order to walk across the street to hold up a Bible upside down at that church, how could they possibly go along with the things that he said? And when he told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand, to be on alert, I just it was unfathomable to me. However, Hassan, I want to say that when Barack Obama won back in 2008, and I saw that he won by a slim margin, and that I felt at that time, I said, this country is teetering on the edge of going either way, one way or the other, where there is change or where people that wanted to pull us back to really pre-Civil War. And the thing that, and it's really just about, I would say, and Professor William probably know this even better than I do, but I think it's about white supremacy, not white supremacy. Having, when I say white supremacy, I mean people just enjoying having that extra edge just because they're white, not because they have any kind of special skills.
You mean white privilege?
That white privilege is the term I'm trying to use. Yes, white privilege. They enjoy that white privilege, and as African Americans and other people of color become equal, start to be treated equal, then they know that we all have to stand on our own 2 feet and our own abilities. And they know that leverage, that extra weight that white privilege has given them, comes off, and now they don't have that. They don't have that extra that they would get, and they wouldn't have the jobs. I mean, right now, police officers, all majority of the police officers are white. Why? White privilege. The majority of the firefighters are white. Why? White privilege. No other reason. If things are equal, we have everyone has the chance. So in 2008, I looked at that. Well, then, when Trump ran, more of the independents decided, wait a minute, maybe we gave them a black president, and maybe this country is kind of moving too far in that direction. I kind of enjoy my white privilege, so I'm going to go with this guy Trump. He was kind of shielding his racist views a little, but they knew that there was undertones there, so maybe I can enjoy that white privilege a little longer by going with him. But then he embarrassed them. He just simply embarrassed them by the way he treated the taking the children, the immigrant children from their parents, and now you have over 500 that they don't even know where the parents are. Just the inhumane things that he did,
Right.
Pulling out of the climate accord, and actually being more in tune to Putin and the gentleman up in North Korea.
Yeah.
So he put the country at risk. And so people finally said, well, wait a minute, independence. And I'm going to say this too. Some of our blacks finally realized that Trump is not his way is not the way. And we're better if we work together. And so I think that the independents came back over to our side. The blacks who didn't want to vote for Hillary, they voted for Barack Obama, but didn't want to vote for Hillary because of George Floyd. Let me tell you something.
Right.
COVID and George Floyd won this election. COVID, if it wasn't for COVID, Trump was on his way to winning. But then to make sure we won this election, unfortunately, we had to witness a man die, a black man die. And with COVID and George Floyd and Trump, I would say the CGT.
it's a powerful chemical combination.
Won this election, and I am praying because I know that just because we have laws does not mean that people's hearts will change. But I am praying that people's hearts will start to change with this. With Trump's election, I said then that there was some good going to come out of it because the racism in this country, the cover would be torn off. And we can fight better when we can see it, right, Dr. Williams? We can fight it better when we can see it. But when it's undercover, we can't fight it. But it's exposed now, so we know where it is, and we can fight it better. So,
thank you. Thank you so much for helping us understand this view. Now, there's a question on the floor, and I'd like to put it up here so see if we can, if my panel can help respond to this question. But if you did like to call, the number is 815-227-5047. If you want to call, please do so and ask your question or pass your comment. And of course, contribute to what we are discussing. You can go ahead and share the feed on Facebook as watching us. It's the Progressive Minds, and on YouTube is the Progressive Mind Show. Please help share the feed so we can get into the community with this message. John Mutaiba says, why did the Constitution fail to see such an impasse in which the incumbent fails to honor the Constitution and transfer power? Will he be removed by force?
Wow.
Sure. I can hop on that question.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, our election process is done at the state level. We have 50 different election boards, if you will, that run 50 different elections. So the Electoral College really is at the whims of the states in that way, right? So Although the popular vote in each state determines where the electoral votes go, some states don't require those electoral votes to actually go to the winner of the popular vote, right, in the state. So, having said all that, what has been left in the Constitution really are some levels of loopholes in a scenario in which the states could decide to not give those electoral votes to the president. It has not really happened in history very often. Even as contentious as the 2016 election was, there were only a handful. I think it was less than 5 electors who decided to be what are called faithless electors and then go the other way and not vote. Particularly, I think the three to four of them out of the 5 were voting for Hillary, not Trump, even though their states have voted to support Trump. So there is potentially a scenario in which the states could decide to overturn the will of the people in this election. And only a handful of states need to do that to flip the Electoral College. Now, according to my understanding of not only Constitution, but also kind of how these things have happened historically, the Secret Service would ultimately, not the military, be responsible for removing the president if the election stands the way that it is, which it most likely 99% chance will stand the way that it is. And so it wouldn't necessarily be the military, but it would be the Secret Service. What is more damaging than these scenarios that are not as probable, but what is problematic and most probable is that Donald Trump will continue to play this game for a period of time. He will block the transition that needs to be happening right now. As you see, Joe Biden already has a commission and task force together on the coronavirus. They're already moving forward, already tapped his chief of staff at this point, so he's moving forward. Donald Trump, by firing his defense secretary right now, blocking the transfer of information from his administration to the Biden-Harris administration, will put this country at risk in terms of safety and security. Ultimately, he will be removed. Unless there is this, once again, really, really unlikely scenario under which the states gather together and try to block the results of this election, which, once again, is not very likely. But what is likely is that he can use the next 70 or so days to really tear apart the transfer of power and really tear apart the institutions that protect our democracy by putting people in, which he's already done, cronies and that sort of thing, and not sharing information. That, to me, is much more dangerous and much more problematic. And last but not least, don't ever forget, at the end of even a good presidency, even a normal presidency, there are a number of pardons that happen and people that receive really clemency from the president. And that's going to happen at a massive level under this President Trump. He will be most likely, more likely than not, freeing a number of people who were in jail primarily because of him. And that, I think, will be one of the more damaging pieces. And our country will not be ready to go in January when it is time for the new administration to come in.
Wow. Wow. Brother Hassan, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to this, but that is very in-depth. We also have information that some.
If you don't want Brother Alingo,
yes,
because the Honorable Clerk is a lawyer.
Yes,
I just wanted her to put her perspective from a legal standpoint. But I want to kind of wrap it up a little bit before I hand it over to her. There's a lot of us, and I'm one of them, and a lot of Democrats who look around and say that a lot of what Mr. Trump as president has done is not just because Trump wanted to do this stuff. It's because he tried our system by doing little things, little terrible things, and he realized that no one was going to fight back. Okay? So at first, he had a Senate that belonged to him and a House that belonged to him. Then we took the House. So we had some power. And of course, we did the impeachment, and it didn't go so far, and that's another thing. But after the impeachment, he continued to do a lot of really bad things that are kind of, you know, to ordinary person, it looks illegal. Let's talk about what's going on right now. Bill Barr, his attorney general, when he was being reviewed by the Senate before he was confirmed, he said that the reason you have investigatory and law enforcement apparatus insulated from the voting process
is mainly because the incumbent government has their hand on the levers of power and they can use it in excess. And here he is today issuing, new guidelines for carrying out investigations. And according to people, people who know more than I do, basically it comes down to the fact that he has stretched those guidelines. He has stretched it in such a way that you no longer need to show evidence that there's a likelihood that if that was investigated, it's gonna have the potential to overturn an election. In other words, he's stretching the guidelines and making it possible for him to start investigations that are not warranted by evidence.
Okay.
And Madam Clerk, you being a lawyer, this is the question a lot of Democrats have. They say to themselves that when we give Democrats power, they don't exercise it. They watch Republicans abusing power, and they just kind of don't engage the fight because there's a frustration to that. Can you please help me understand this?
Well, FYI, she's not only a lawyer, she's also a certified CPA. Okay. So.
Wow. That is
I think
very inspiring and motivating.
I think Democrats, try to be a little bit more civil and democratic than Republicans tend to try to be. So it sometimes, it depends on how you define power. We're just more strategic. But let me see, as I was looking up as it relates to the electors, the Supreme Court actually decided a case as recent as July 6, 2020, that says that states have devised a method to ensure that electors they appoint vote for the presidential candidate their citizens have preferred. So it's going to be very difficult. The Supreme Court just ruled on this on July 6, 2020. Probably because they thought Trump was going to win. But they already, and they said most states, with the exception of maybe 2, compel electors to pledge to support the nominee of that party. They select the people that and they select these people and select them to support the person that has won the state. So you can't, and as Dr. was talking about the faithless electors, there are some penalties for that. They even have said that if you become a faithless elector, and it's in the Supreme Court opinion, July 6th opinion, it said that they have a process in place to substitute those people out for somebody that's going to support the one that is won. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do an analysis, Aliko knows that periodically I do a show on Sunday evenings at 7, and I think I'm going to do one this Sunday on this electoral college, because a lot of people are a little nervous about what's going to happen with these different meetings and how does that transpire.
Yeah.
What happens when you get to Congress? Once you send your votes to the Senate. Well, the Congress selects the president. The Senate selects the vice president. But as Doctor said, it's been very seldom that they not selected the person that's won. So, Trump is doing all this and his people are doing all of that. But as Doctor also said, and I really like this, Dr. Williams, when you said Trump lost by more votes than any incumbent since 1930s. And I think he's just simply embarrassed right now.
You are still listening to the Progressive Mind Show. This is your #1 community building show in the entire world. We will take a short break. When we come back, the show continues. Please share the feed whilst you're on the break. We shall be right back. Welcome back. It's 7:22 p.m. here in Chicago, and we are being engaged this evening by Honorable Clerk Dorothy Brown Cook, Professor Ted Williams III, and HASSAN MATOVU from the African, specifically the Ugandan community. If you have any questions regarding what we have discussed so far, please send it to the and you are watching on Facebook, please go ahead and type in your comment. If you want to call, it is 815-277-5047. Honorable, I know your time is very short. You have other engagements, so we're not going to keep you long. In a few minutes, you would have to take leave of us. But before you go, Professor Ted, give us a good explanation into the political, the electoral processes and the and all those technologies. But if for a lot of Africans or a lot of people, a lot of regular folks who are watching, how does the say all things being equal, if President-elect Joe Biden and Kamala get into the White House on in January, right, next year, January 2020, what should the regular folks, ordinary Americans, lower income, middle income expect from a Biden and Kamala Harris administration? And I would like the honorable clerk to maybe respond to this because I know your time is short, so I have to sum up as much as I can get information from you before you leave. So if you can help respond to this, I know Ted and Hassan will be here to carry on. But if you can respond to this, that would help us.
Well, what I expect from a Biden, Kamala Harris administration is, first of all, a direct response to the COVID-19. They're going to put forth something that's going to help us beat this virus, because I think we have to attack the virus not just simply by waiting on a vaccine, but we have to make sure that the country is doing what it can and all the people are doing what we can to fight this virus. I think we can wipe this virus out of this country. We can get it out at least 60 to 70% and let the vaccine do the rest. We do not want this virus hanging around. So they're going to first fight the virus, then deal with health care, the Affordable Health, the Affordable Care Act, and then criminal justice reform.
Okay.
That's something that's near and dear to my heart. That's something that I want to work on. Criminal justice reform from the standpoint of institutionalized racism. All of that within that process, because there's criminal justice reform that's necessary, but within that is blotting out institutionalized racism. I would say institutionalized racism is the higher level, and then criminal justice reform is within that, because the reason why many of our Black boys and girls have been sent to prison is because of institutionalized racism. So I see them tackling those three things significantly in this country.
Great. Now, for the next 4 minutes, you would be taking leave of us. So let me just pose this question, probably your last words before you leave. In the state of Illinois, I would say in the county of Cook, you have championed the expungement program for over 10 years, 20 years. Correct me if I'm wrong.
15. Yes.
About 15 years. And the essence of that program is to give people a second chance. People who may have committed felonies or any kind of offenses and may have been put in jail. The program is to give them a second chance. They come back to society and get their lives going the right way. Now, you have retired this year. We know you're not going to be running. You're not going to be in power to perpetuate this program. Now, how does the future look for the expungement program, and how are you going to take this passion of the expungement program into your next life to try to work to push for criminal justice reform in this country?
Well, I believe that the next clerk will keep the program going here in Cook County. Okay. I think there will be enough pressure from enough entities to ensure that it continues to go. But from the standpoint of myself, I want to take this expungement process to a national level. I'm going to be seeking, creating an organization that will then work towards getting expungement started on for federal crimes. People that are found innocent of federal crimes, they still have the record because there's no federal expungement law. And the only way you get an expungement on a federal level is you get a pardon from the president of the United States, and everybody simply does not have that connection. So I'm going to work on a federal level with second chances. I'm going to start a second chance program. I want to work with various states that do not have expungement laws and start at a minimum, making sure that in every state, if you are found innocent or arrested and not charged, that you can get those things expunged. That's just at the basic level. And then we want to work going up from there. Alinco, that, and Congressman Davis was at my event on last week.
Yes.
And he talked about the fact that not until I really brought the expungement process forward did all of these other people come along and even want to call the word expungement. Yeah. I'm a pioneer in that regard, behind him, of course, because of what he's done.
Yes.
But I brought it even at a higher level.
Yes.
And I am just so happy about my work in that second chance arena. And I'm going to continue to work in that arena going forward. And thank you so very much for letting me be on this program with these wonderful gentlemen here.
Thank you.
Professor Williams.
Yes.
And Hassan, thank you all so very much. I've been so enlightened by your remarks tonight. Look forward to working with both of you in some way, form, or fashion in the next phase of my my life.
Wow.
Thank you, Alinco.
Thank you so much. It's an honor having you once again. It's always refreshing. It's always informative. Ed wants to say something. Prof, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say thank you again, and I would be remiss if I did not do this. We have a mutual connection, so I'm sure we'll connect again. The Raymond family, Lewis and Lauren, are my family, and they told me to tell you hello tonight.
Oh, wow. Yes, my godson.
Yes, I'm sure we'll connect soon.
Brother Alinco, can I say one last thing?
Please, go ahead. Please.
Honorable Clerk, I just want to recognize you for the exemplary work that you've done, and I'm so elated to be here. I had a discussion with my daughter last night. We talked about you. You're one of our inspirations. She has you, and she has Thurgood Marshall. Yes, thank you very much. But at the same time, just because you're here, I also want to say thank you to Tony Preckwinkle in Lori Lightfoot. And you understand what I mean? Because we see you in the same light.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you to both of you. And Dr. Professor Williams, I'll have to reach out to you.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Thank you, Hassan. You almost made me cry when you said Thurgood Marshall and Dorothy Brown. Oh, my God.
Yeah, we were talking about you with my daughter.
No, that's
God bless both. God bless all of you, and thank you, Alinco. Such a good friend, Alinco. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. That was Honorable Dorothy Brown, very great leader in our society. We honor her, and we are grateful to have her this evening to share her thoughts on the U.S. elections and the aftermath. We are combining the African perspective as well. And so we are very grateful. Now, for those of you who don't know, that the expandment program is, actually other states have come to the state of Illinois to kind of replicate the expandment program in their states. So other state leaders have been here to try to actually move with the program or copy the program that Honorable Dorothy Brown has been championing for so many years, for over 15 years in the state of Illinois, specifically here in here in Cook County. And so she is a living legend. She's a living legend, and we ought to honor and acknowledge that. Now, back to the discussion this evening. I want to acknowledge people who have joined us. Maggie Lubia says, actually, let me go ahead and put it up here. Maggie Lubia says, great show. Thank you, Maggie, for joining in. We have Robert Kigundu. He says, great stuff, Alinco. Greetings to our panelists and your viewers. Uganda North American Association, UNNA, is how we of Ugandan descent come together in North America. So that's the website, www.unaaonline.org. Let's connect. Let's bridge the gap. Yes, my brother, I believe in that. Robert, let's bridge the gap. Professor Ted believes in that as well. So we have a whole team, we have a whole group of people who are passionate about bridging the gap. And so I am very glad for your comment and appreciative of it as well. Dr. Portia says, super show, you were great. You were great, Clerk. Clerk Dorothy. You were great, Clerk Dorothy. That's from Dr. Portia. So Myth Diamond Bank says, having a good life is all that matter. You have to just do what you have to be done to get rich. Join us. No. I'm sorry. I didn't see this comment. It is not what we wanted. My brother, this is not the right platform for your comments. So thank you for, I'm going to have to take him off of this. That's not what we wanted. But anyway, Ted, what is the way forward? A lot of people are skeptical. Maybe, but before you do that, there's a question I wanted to ask Hassan.
Yes, sir.
It seemed like the African community was divided when it came to this election. There were a lot of Christians that were vouching for Trump for one or two reasons, right? Based on some religious sentiments. And
I did have a conversation with my friends about this.
Okay.
And, they did note to me that the influence of the American evangelical movement, especially the white evangelists, in the blind sanctification of the behavior of Trump became a problem.
Okay.
And we came up with that term, blind sanctification. In other words, we let Trump do horrible things. And I'm going to just look here and tell you that I looked up 10 worst things that people have ranked that Trump did very quickly. Child separation policy. And some of these children separated were toddlers. I'm not going to explain it because I want to run through quick. Withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. That's like killing the entire world. Sidelining U.S. intelligence agencies and siding with the Russian con machine. Attacking Obamacare. That's horrible. They're in the court right now trying to remove Obamacare. The biggest beneficiaries of Obamacare are poor people who happen to be white people in the Appalachians. They're willing to vote down what they need just because a black man is written, just because the signature of a black man wrote that to them. Okay, so, so on and on, violating the emolument clause, letting Ivanka Trump go to China and get patents for her business just when he became president. The regressive tax cut, that's going to bite us. Cruelty, inhuman behavior, calling African countries shithole countries, demeaning Muslim, demeaning protesters and stuff like that. Here's another thing I'm going to talk to you about. There's a sentiment in Africa. Well, the connection between the things I just read to you, these terrible things that Mr. Trump has done as president, we ask ourselves the question, what type of evangelism, what book of God, what behaviors lead you to say that this is okay, we like him because it gives us what? We don't understand that. Terrible things that Mr. Trump has done as president, we ask ourselves, okay, so the other perspective that we'll look, you know what, I'm going to leave this for the professor to answer.
Right.
After these 10 things that I read to you, what is it that the evangelical has to tell me today? That their evangelical principles, their guidelines, their soulfulness is what guided them to supporting Mr. Trump.
But before the professor answers that question, specifically Hassan.
Yes.
Why do you think that a lot of Africans are only looking at that religious argument? Because most Africans that I know that voted for Trump voted for him based off that religious sentiment.
Yes.
That he's for the evangelicals, that he's for churches, he's for Christians, right? And I think just based on that knowledge. Now, do you think that it is fair to say, okay, yeah, based on that, the Africans who voted for him, and even actually there were videos on social media showing Africans demonstrating in Africa,
in my own country.
Okay, and vouching for Trump. Now, this is the man who was called Africa all types of names. He's the whole continent and the people in the continent. And so why would people still, because of religion alone, that's religion supersede everything else? Help me understand this before Professor comes in.
I'm gonna kind of hit it from the historical perspective. Religion is very powerful. Okay? When Jesus left earth, whether you believe that he was killed or he just went to heaven, regardless of what religion you believe, the European powers took over the management of the religion that Jesus brought to us. Okay? They took the books and they hid them away, and they started taking little bits at a time, and they used it to influence people. The point I'm trying to make is that religion has a power that is not even quantifiable. I'm going to show you another instance in which white supremacism used religion. When they came to colonize Africa, the first people they sent home were missionaries. Even though they came and told us about Jesus, the real goal for their coming to Africa was to break down the souls for colonization. Behind the scenes, the first so-called discoverers, when they took the reports back to Europe, they told their masters that these people already know good from bad. But so religion wasn't what was going to make Africans good people, good souls. Religion was only used to break down the souls. Religion is very powerful. Those verses in those books of God have power that is almost uncountable. Okay. And so when that power is extended to someone and someone believes that power, they stop reasoning. They stop using reason. They just follow what whoever brings the power to them tells them to do.
Okay. So in your opinion, is it the right thing for them to do? Was it the right thing for them to do? Or do you think that they should have looked at other issues as well?
Not only should they have looked at other issues, the person they were vouching for, the person they were voting for, has done other things that the same religion tells them are horrible things.
Okay. All right. Okay. On that note, let's go to Ted. Well, yes, I think you have a great point. The same person you're voting for, who is fighting for your supposedly protecting your religion, is the same person who's breaking the laws that your religion, oppose, and so there is a very dicey situation here. But Ted, please go ahead and help us understand the way forward. If you wanted to comment on something that Hassan said, or maybe Honorable Clerk Brown said, please go ahead and do that.
I can comment on a lot, but I'm going to actually pop on the religious question for a moment, because I wear a couple different hats, and one, I do ministry also. In addition to teaching politics, I'm going to share a scripture with you all tonight. And it says, "Then they will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick or in prison, and did not help you? He will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did not do for the least of these, you did not do for me." That is the book of Matthew, chapter 25. And I have many conversations. Actually, my area of major interest is the intersection of faith and politics. I've written now 2 books on that, and I'm pursuing additional degrees in this work, because I think, to Brother Hassan's point, religion is such a powerful, powerful force. And it has been historically a powerful force for good, but it also has had times where historically it's been a powerful force for evil. Right. And so I think the real issue with the African church and the African American church and the white evangelical church and the Latino Hispanic church has been an issue of bad theology and coupled with bad ideology, right? So you take bad ideology, you couple it with bad theology, and you got some bad ologies going on. You know what I'm saying? Right. You got real situations and real problems. And so for me, I am very clear that this question of abortion, which is so near and dear to the hearts of the evangelical community, is an important issue. I understand it. Right. But it is one issue among literally hundreds of issues. And you cannot tell me that someone who wants to take away the health care from 47 million people in the middle of a pandemic has your faith in mind. You cannot tell me that someone who wants to build a wall to keep immigrants out of the country has your faith in mind. You cannot tell me that someone that brags about sexually assaulting women has your faith in mind. You cannot tell me that someone who calls people who are protesting peacefully against police brutality SOBs has your faith in mind. And so for me, it is hypocrisy, and it is a supporting of the idolatry of white supremacy in our culture, which could not be more antithetical to scriptural text. So on whatever levels, yes, maybe he has the right position on 1 or 2 issues that you believe in faith. but he has the wrong position on 25 issues. And so what are you going to do? Now, that's my religious piece for a moment.
Right.
But I want to hit on the Biden administration very quickly if I can. And just say, in terms of policy, I appreciate what everyone has said, but let me add to what Joe Biden has put in his plan in terms of what we can look forward to in this Biden administration. So, as the Honorable Clerk said, we're looking at a mandatory mask policy, which is what they've promised to do, led by the states. We're going to reconnect with the World Health Organization so that we can fight this global pandemic with our international partners, not alone. The expansion of the CDC. He already has started a task force to deal with this issue, and a nationwide pandemic dashboard, which would help to create an information for us so that we can in real time know where we are around these questions. He also is going to expand unemployment insurance, which has stopped under the Trump administration. We're going to have a public health job corps to fight the pandemic, where we're going to take and employ residents to fight the pandemic in their communities. Okay. We also are looking at a small business opportunity plan and an effort to equalize federal procurement for people of color. Last but not least, in criminal justice, a nationwide ban on chokeholds and an end to the use of military weapons in the police force. And then I'll say and a National Police Oversight Commission. We're going to get back into Paris climate change agreement, and we're also going to be looking at a zero emissions transportation policy for every city over 100,000 people in this country. I think, guys, the choices could not be more clear. The plan could be not more clear. And I think we have to hold Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we have to hold them accountable as well, right? These are great plans. We cannot go to sleep because they are in office. We have to hold them accountable. In politics, no permanent friends nor permanent enemies, only permanent interest. And we have to push them as well. But I can tell you, having a plan is better than no plan. And the idea that we're going to wait this virus out until we get a vaccine could not be not only one of the most irresponsible policies we could have, but with the amount of people dying, I venture to say one of these most immoral policies that we could have towards this virus. And that is what we've had with the president.
Wow. It's very insightful. Thank you so much. This is the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Alinko, and we shall take this short break. When we come back, we're trying to wrap up. It's 7:45 p.m. Chicago time. Please stay tuned while we take this short break. Welcome back. While you're watching, we're encouraging you to support the Progressive Mind Show. You can send your contributions and donations to SENAALINCO on Cash App. Okay, if you're on Cash App, you can send it to the $ SENAALINCO. And also go on my website, which is theprogressivemindshow.com, progressivemindshow.com, and make a generous donation there. This is how you can contribute to the movement. This is where we build our community by engaging folks in dialogue such as this. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. we're here. Sometimes we'll do a Monday special, depending on what program or what it is we need to talk about, because Wednesdays is only, Wednesdays, sometimes we are limited based on the topics that we need to discuss. So we at times do a Monday special or Saturdays special. So be expecting us some Mondays, some Saturdays, but usually our main programming time is Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time. Now we have a comment from Portia. She says, yes, Dr. Williams, President-elect Biden would hit the ground running with a plan, not saying I'm gonna. My brother, Pastor Aten, just joined us. He says, I was waiting to call in, but I don't think there is time for that today. Well, we still have a few minutes. You can go ahead and call in and share your ideas or ask a question, because who knows, somebody might take a lot from what you are about to contribute. So, brother, feel free to do so. It's 815-4. No, I was going to give you my number. 815-277-5047. Well, so that said, somebody will ask. He says, there's a question on the floor, I guess. John Mutaiba. He says, how difficult is it to put something on the democratic agenda to stop supporting despotic regimes. Maybe Professor Ted, you want to help us respond to this?
I don't think it would be very difficult at all. I mean, once again, I hate to oversimplify this, but we are literally looking at a difference of night and day in these presidents. President Trump has bragged about supporting President Duterte in the Philippines, who is conducting an extrajudicial war on drugs in which they are killing people who are suspected of using drugs. And the president has not only admired but supported that work. All across the world, the dictators, those who are authoritarian, have been supported by this president. As recently as we know, his relationship with Vladimir Putin in Russia, in which he chose very clearly on television the opinion and the statement around what Vladimir Putin said around whether he was actually interfering in our election over our own intelligence agencies. They asked him in a press conference, do you believe them or do you believe him? And he said, he literally said, I have no reason to believe that Putin is lying about what he's doing. And he came back the very next day and changed exactly what he said, as though we didn't watch, millions of us watch it the day before, and say, I did not say that, I said this. And we have it on tape. And so what I'm saying is that the tone of the nation will be different. The spirit of the nation will be different. I don't know if we need legislation to push that, but I do know that we have accountability around the president that we have going forward. Now, I will say this, to be fair to both President Trump and Joe Biden, America has a consistent history of engaging in the overthrow of foreign governments around the world. We know this, Democrats and Republicans have been very engaged in places like the Middle East and overthrowing regimes all across the world. You can go through our history for the last really 100 years. But what I'm going to say is that in that way, legislation or not, it is up to the people to hold this administration accountable to the goals of diplomacy and engagement. And back to my original point, I think, legislation or not, we are light years ahead of having a situation where we are not supporting authoritarian regimes and we are supporting diplomatic efforts to solve international problems. Light years ahead with Joe Biden than we would be with Donald Trump.
The number to call is, thank you so much, Ted. The number to call is 815-277-5047 for those who would want to call in. Now, there was a question here that I wanted to put on the screen. No, actually, he says, okay. So Christopher says,
Linko.
you wanted to ask a question?
Oh, no, Brother Linko, I just wanted to sort of compliment what the professor just talked about.
Yes, looks like.
I just wanted to, there's a perspective in Africa right now.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let's take this call and then
okay,
we can.
That's fine.
I think there's a situation going on, so the call is coming through my phone instead. So we'll try to take it. Caller, tell us your name and why you're calling.
Yes, good evening, Alinko. This is Pastor Ate.
All right, Pastor Ate, you have the floor. Can you all hear him, Ted and Hassan?
Yes, we can.
Okay, go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, number one, I thank you for bringing such a topic on board, and then also both Mr. Hassan and also Professor Ted. I think you did a very, very excellent job in explaining the issue. Me being a pastor, one of the things I actually wanted to talk about was actually the Christian support for Trump. Now, let me make this very, very clear from my perspective. And before I even say that, I voted for Joe Biden. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. Let me make this very, very clear. I think, number one, the biggest issue we have in Christianity is we don't have people who think on their own. As I said, the Bible has been there, but how many people actually pick up the Bible, read it? In Christianity, it's very, very well known that we're just waiting for people to tell us what it says, instead of us trying to find out what it is and having an understanding of what we're reading. Rather, people tell us what to do. So in this America that we're in, especially, and also in Africa, we do the same thing. We're always waiting for the pastor to do and digest and then give us exactly what we need from the Bible, instead of looking at it and then being consistent with what it says. Consistency is one of the biggest problems, especially overall with the Republican Party. I am a very conservative person, but the Republican Party is so inconsistent with their morals. I find them to be very, very hypocritical. So as Christians, what the problem is that they're inconsistent and very, very hypocritical. One of the things I really hate to hear right now is a white evangelical in this America, because they're so hypocritical with everything. I was having a discussion with somebody, and I said, how is it at the same time you say you're pro-life and you're against abortion, but yet you are for the death penalty? Those two things are inconsistent. So across the board, you'll see many of these inconsistencies with these white evangelicals as they support Donald Trump. Now, let me say, Donald Trump, I believe deep down that Christianity has so much more opportunity and chance under President Trump. I'll definitely admit that, because I don't believe he would allow any restrictions or anything to go wrong with the religious freedoms and liberties that people have as Christians in this country. Joe Biden, I wouldn't be 100% sure that he'd be on the same level, because he does come from the Democratic side, which are being more and more progressive and standing up against religious liberties for Christians. But what I will say is, for many people, if you're listening to me, Donald Trump is not a Christian. When he was first going through the campaign before his 2016 election, he was asked a very direct and specific question. They asked us, how are your sins forgiven? And he says, I try and work it out on my own. So fundamentally, in Christianity, the fact that our sins are forgiven by Jesus Christ, and that's how we have salvation, he refuses that. And he says he works it out on his own. We already know him to be an amoral person. He's had several wives, and he's had several extramarital relationships with these wives. Of course, many men are the victim of that, but yet this is the person that they support. He doesn't know how to talk to people. He has so many histories of racial injustices, even within his own companies and policies that he had back in the 80s and 90s when it came to having tenants who are of color. There's so many things that can be said about him, even his refusal to even condemn white supremacists. We already know that he's amoral on so many different levels. So are you actually voting for Trump, or are you voting for the policies of the Republican Party? And then that's what people have to really differentiate, that the individual does not represent Christ. Maybe, and this is a long shot, that Republican Party, being conservative, will represent the interests of Christianity, but Trump himself is not that person. So there's a situation where we have to separate the man from the party, because Trump is actually not a traditional Republican. Now, in my point of view, sorry for taking so much time, so much of your time.
It's okay.
One of the biggest problems that we have in America is the abortion issue, and in Africa, it is the homosexual issue. So if you look at Africans, for example, it's so much contradictory to our culture that we find it personally offensive. So if we see a party that's supportive of homosexuality, we will automatically refuse it, not understanding that there are more issues than homosexuality. And over here in America, once again, it is the abortion and the homosexuality. Those two issues have been indoctrinated into the Christian people in America so much that anything that supports or even has a semblance of supporting such a thing, they completely condemn it. So many people don't like Trump. They actually cannot stand him, but yet they will still vote for him because they've been told so by their preachers and the church teachers, and also because they find the issue of their abortion and homosexuality so abhorrent that they can't even look past it. So that's what I want to contribute. I don't want to speak too long. So
wow.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Ate, for breaking this down. That's why that's what your call is very valuable. So I am glad that you did make this call. Imagine if you hadn't called. So I appreciate you. We look forward to speaking with you sometime soon. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes. Professor Ted, please go ahead. I know you wanted to respond.
Yeah, if I could respond very quickly, I so appreciate what the pastor is saying, and I want to just take literally 2 minutes, if I can, if not less, to talk about this. Dr. King said there's nothing in the world that is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity, that we have a moral obligation to be educated. And to the pastor's point, so many people are not educated, and that is really one of the challenges, that people just listen to what other people tell them and they go forward in it. The issues of religion and politics are very nuanced, very complicated, very important, and I recognize and I appreciate the way that he has made this statement around this current administration. But I also want to press the issue of this question of religious freedom, the question of abortion, the question of homosexuality, and ask just this one question. Does the Bible promise us religious freedom? Religious freedom is maybe the number one issue in the Christian community, and I would suggest that the scriptures that I read never promise religious freedom, in fact, promise persecution. And so I would suggest, as a person of faith myself, that the goal of religious freedom might be antithetical to the very faith that we believe. We want the freedom to worship. God never promised us a state that would do that for us. And so I think we've got to think about these questions. The other thing is, I have some of the same moral views and that kind of thing, and I'm not suggesting that we throw them out. Dr. King also said we cannot legislate morality, but we can regulate behavior, right? And so there's a balance there. But the other question may be, are there other ways to put forth our moral view of the world other than just legislating those things? Are there other ways to push forth marriage, to push forth family, to get people not to have abortions, that sort of thing? Are there other ways other than just making them illegal? And if there are, people of faith ought to be working their behinds off on the other end to save every single person in those situations possible. And until we do that, we have to be careful about waiting for the state to enact our moral code if we don't work to enact it in the spaces of influence that we have by ourselves.
My brother, Hassan, Professor said it all. Yes, go ahead and add your 2 cents. And so we can wrap it up. It's 2 minutes.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it very quickly. One of the most important tenets about religion, and I know this is very true in both the Bible and the Quran and the other books. In the Quran, God tells his messenger, Prophet Muhammad, that in short, I'm going to shorten this verse, that says to him that remind them that you are only here to remind them. And then he says, Last Allah him Musaifil, do not impose unto them as a dictator. Let those who astray be so, because indeed to us they'll come back and we will judge them. So the biggest problem here is that a lot of people on that side of religion perceive freedom of religion to mean that it gives them freedom to stop others from worshiping religions that are not theirs. And I'm going to leave it there for tonight.
Okay. No, I love that. Thanks for leaving this.
That could be a whole show, Brother Alinco.
I know. That's another one to discuss on another day. But we are grateful for your time. I'm missing some people who have joined us. I'm trying to see if I can get your names. For some reason, my screen is not showing. So if I'm not giving you, I'm not acknowledging you, please know that it's not intentional. I'm trying to see if I can get it. But our show has to come to an end this evening. It's 8 p.m. I am very glad that we engage you all, and I appreciate your time. But Professor Ted, your last words, and then Hassan, your last words on the U.S. elections, the African perspective, the way forward. What should we be looking forward to? A lot of people are in limbo right now. Is it going to the Supreme Court? Is it going to be overturned? It's all over the place. So help us in maybe your 1 minute remarks. Let's close this and let's try to come back on another day to continue from where we are leaving off. So I'll start with Professor Ted.
I think we can choose to see our lives and this country and this current election as a glass that is either half empty or half full. I choose to see the glass as half full. I think that we ought to be happy about the record turnout. I think we ought to be happy that America rejected Donald Trump. I think we ought to be happy that we are in a situation where we still have freedom and we still have some level of economic prosperity in those things. And so when I look at this particular election, I think we should all be able to sleep well at night. The idea, once again, that this election that is overwhelmingly state by state going in Joe Biden's favor in these battleground states, and that's going to be overturned in the Supreme Court is really a far-fetched. And I think that we should be okay and understand that democracy is working right now, and the people have spoken. And let's get behind this new administration so we can make our lives better for everyone in this country.
Thank you. My brother Hassan, how should the African community be looking forward to the Biden-Kamala administration and going forward based on the voter turnout, the energy that we have, that we have now in this era? How do we maintain this not only to the American political process, but how do we use energy to organize our own African community? Your last words, please, Brother Hassan.
Very quickly. First of all, Africans are in shock looking at what's going on in America. We have always seen America as the beacon, the light on, on top of the hill. Right now, they think that America never really had the institutions in place to stop a dictator from doing as much as Trump has done. However, on the other hand, Africans also remember that it was under a democratic administration that they had the inspiration to do the Arab Spring and to stop a president in Ivory Coast that was trying to steal an election, just like Trump is trying to do it here. There are many countries right now that have dictators that have been on there for so long. Paul Biya in Cameroon, 45 years. Theodore Obiang, 41 years in Equatorial Guinea. Cecil
Museveni,
36 years. Museveni in Uganda, 34 years. Idris Derby in Chad, 29 years. Youth in these countries are working hard to remove these people who have their knee on their entire lives. But they are hopeful that a democratic administration will be more willing to support those young people who are trying to overturn these dictatorships that are making their life very difficult back at home. So it's a glass half full, Professor Ted.
Wow. Well, to my audience, my appreciation to you. I love you all, and thank you so much for being with us from the beginning to now, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's 4 minutes past 8. We are so appreciative. Next week is going to be another very, very interesting one. So stay logged on the Progressive Minds Show. We are on Facebook, The Progressive Minds. On YouTube is The Progressive Minds Show. Please go on there, like the page, turn on the notification so that when we come on every Wednesday or each time on the specials on Monday or on Saturdays, you can be notified and you can be part of the community building process. I've been honored to have Professor Ted Williams, HASSAN. Earlier on, we had Honorable Clerk Dorothy Brown Cook on the show. And it's always my honor to engage those beautiful and brilliant, intelligent, wise people in our community to indulge in these types of discussions. And I encourage you to be part of it, because through this, through what we're doing, through engaging each other, we get to know who we are, we get to integrate, and we can also become better citizens and make our society a better place. Remember, to whom much is given, much is required. Professor Ted Williams, the third, HASSAN MATOVU, it's been wonderful having you here. And I'm looking forward to the next one and great things to come, all right? I know we're going to be doing a lot of programs together, Ted. We did one last year. Next year, for sure. Next year is going to be bigger, bro. Next year is going to be bigger, yeah.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Really, yeah, absolutely, it's coming, and there are more people, coming on board now who are very, very interested as well. So I'll be calling you about that. John, Mutana, Portia, Chris, Maggie, Elvis, Bank, Uben. Again, if I couldn't mention you, John Woods, my favorite, our number one, our top fan, number one fan, John Woods, Kisikia, Abubakari, Lucky. And all the guys, please forgive me if I missed your name. But see you again. Remember, be good. Remember, to keep hope alive. Just be strong, okay? Do not be afraid. God give us love. He give us boldness and not fear. So, right? So look unto love. Look unto hope. There is a brighter day ahead of us. We shall see you next week. Bye-bye. It's from Alinko. Peace out. All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Nice to meet you, HASSAN. Thank you. Thank you,
nice
brother.